What's up, NYCU? This is Tin.
This is Catherine.
In this podcast, we share some interesting facts about our campus in English. For most people, studying in a different country can be a life-changing experience. It's usually full of adventure, cultural immersion, and personal growth.
In this episode, we are going to talk about experience of joining an exchange project. Today, we invited my roommate, Nina, to be our guest.
Yay!
Yay! Hi, Nina. Can you say hi to our audience?
Hey everyone, my name is Nina, and I am currently a fourth-year medical student studying here at NYCU. I'm actually pretty excited to be here today to talk about my exchange program. For context, I did a exchange, sort of like an internship program in Denmark last July through IFMSA Exchange. Best time of my life, and thank you for having me.
The pleasure is mine. I heard that you usually participate in these kind of events or activities such as exchange projects or studying abroad. So why do you like it so much? Or what drives you to keep on doing this?
I feel like I'm the kind of person that likes meeting new people and just like having conversations with like literally everyone. My motivation was that if people make more of an effort to understand each other, there would be less interpersonal conflicts and more harmonious compassion. And one of my biggest interests outside of campus is probably traveling. So for me, like this kind of experience, or opportunities per se, serve as a best way for me to combine sort of like my academic interests and like my life outside of it, like all together. And also, I think it's like super cool to meet people that actually study the same thing as you are, but like in a totally different country or different places. And you kind of have like more insights into the global community in general, and that's pretty crucial, especially for our generation, in my opinion.
Wow, it's really nice that you found a way to travel and learn new stuff at the same time.
Speaking of learning, what was the most impressive thing that you saw when you were a hospital clerk in Denmark?
When you think of Denmark, you probably would think of Denmark as like a quote-unquote like highly developed society in general, and people are very well educated, and that's totally the case. But like what surprises me the most is that literally everyone can speak English in Denmark, which is crazy, like because I was doing my exchange program in the emergency medicine, like ER, that's how we call it. So I get to meet a lot of patients like of different ages, and most of them are like on the older side. And there was like this one time, like I still remember like from like to this day that when a 90-something male patient came in, and the doctor I was following that day asked him like if it's okay that I was there for like the whole history taking and like basic like physical examination, and like he literally replied in English that like he said like quote from him said like it's totally fine like for you to be here, and you can even use English to ask me questions, like I can reply to you in English. And that's like so crazy and like so shocking to me, because like I cannot imagine my grandpa speaking English, and then I got to draw my first ever arterial block gas, so that's pretty fun. Yeah.
Wow, I hope when I need treatment in Denmark I can also speak English as fluently as he does.
Okay, I'm a little bit curious. Did you experience any like cultural shock in the hospital or outside the hospital there?
I actually have two that came to my mind when you asked this question, but it's not like culture shocks, it's more like observations, I feel like. And like the first one is that in the hospital, you don't see like quote unquote hierarchy, because I feel like in Taiwan, like you kind of have that no matter you're like nurses or like doctors or like just like in general in hospital, like those kind of settings, you kind of have like hierarchy. And I remember like in Denmark, like during lunchtime, like everyone sit together, like no matter you're like senior doctors or like junior doctors or like medical students like me, they just sit side by side and have like lunch together. And that's like so cool. Like they even call each other by their first names instead of last names, and like they do that to the patients as well. And I feel really caring in that sort of like settings. And this was all like very new to me, because I'm come from a place where like in Taiwan we don't really have that, so it's kind of like pretty cool. And the second one is something happened outside of hospital a lot. Is that I remember just like going to bars or like random shops, restaurants, whenever like encountering Danish staffs. When I ask them questions or just ordering stuff, they will like all speak Danish to me in the very first beginning. And then I would just like told them, oh, sorry, but I don't understand Danish. And then they would switch to English for me. And what is like really surprising for me now is that, because in hindsight, I think that it's like really normal for people to do that. But then after coming back to Taiwan, I kind of thought about this a lot, is that I think it's pretty interesting that they all assume everyone here is a part of the community, because I feel like in Taiwan, when you encounter someone that say have the look of a like a typical like foreigner, 外国人, you would just like speak English to them, no matter where they are from, no matter like your gender, ethnicity, your races or religions. But like in Denmark, it's like they all very inclusive in this way, and they just think that no matter how you look like and like what you believe in, like you're a part of this like Danish society. And that's like pretty cool to me in this way, because like in Taiwan we don't really have that.
Yeah, that's very true. I remember there was one time I met a girl in the elevator in our dorm. She had blonde hair and blue eyes, really fit the image of foreigners. So I asked her in English which floor she wanted to go to. Well, you guys can have a guess. What did she say? She said 五楼. I was like
in Mandarin, right?
Yeah. I was like, oh, she understands Mandarin. Oh, why did I automatically talk to her in English?
You must have felt awkward then, but I think that's out of good intentions. I understand that.
Yeah, so let's move on. Nina, can you tell us, does your experience in Denmark make a difference to your life when you're back here in Taiwan?
Yeah, totally. I actually learned a lot, not only about the healthcare system from the hospital, but also a lifestyle, like overall. Like now, like back in Taiwan, I try to be more mindful about the small things in life. For example, the first few days at the hospital back then was actually pretty hard for me, since it's like totally new environment and a completely different healthcare system, and the pace in the ER is crazy fast. And I was low-key very stressed, and I felt a lot of pressure at that time. And in hindsight, I wouldn't know that it's normal for people to experience that, because like we are human at the end of the day. But when I was really in that like sort of like settings, I was like very scared, and like everything's like so new to me. So like now that I'm back in Taiwan, I still remember those feelings. So whenever I encounter conflicts or like misunderstanding here and there, I just like try to take into account that maybe this person is going through something that I don't really understand, or just like give them benefits of the doubt about like what they are going through. And another thing is that I definitely try to be more open and become more willing to ask questions. I feel like because of our cultural upbringing, it's not that easy to actually speak up for yourself. But like in Denmark, I noticed that people are pretty much encouraged to ask questions or just raise their hands whenever they encounter something they don't understand, because there are no dumb questions, to be honest. And it doesn't matter that you cannot speak perfect English or you're not grammatically precise. You have to let go of those inner voices and just like speak freely. And that's when you learn the most.
That's so uplifting. We should all learn to say our opinions out loud and exchange ideas with people around us. As this episode is coming to an end, can you give some words of encouragement to the audience?
Or are there any suggestions for our audience to give it a try?
So I actually read this quote somewhere online a few days ago. It says, if you can't beat fear, do it scared. It's always gonna be like pretty scary when you try something new. And I feel like everyone is the same. Like you're always gonna feel like you're not enough in everywhere. But that's totally okay and normal. So I would say that when you see a chance, just hold on to it if that's something that you really want to do. And for resources, I would highly recommend like follow IFMSA or FMS-Taiwan if you study medicine.
That's all for today's podcast. Thanks, Nina, for coming.
Yay!
Is there anything else you want to say to our audience?
I actually have a YouTube channel if anyone would like to learn more about this kind of international experiences, I guess. For those of you who are interested, I actually went to Estonia in early March for an international meeting with medical students from all around the world, and I actually vlogged there, so if you're interested, you can check that out. And feel free to follow me on YouTube and Instagram. My handle is at NIKOLINAISH on both platforms. Again, it's at NIKOLINAISH. And Catherine and I, we are roommates, and we happen to have another podcast together. It's called 大学读6年医学系和牙医系室友乱乱说. You can find us on like
Spotify,
almost all platforms. Yeah, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, whatever. It's out there. We are probably there. And be sure to check that out as well. Yeah. And don't forget to share your thoughts with us by writing an email to bmse.emi@gmail.com. Again, it's bmse.emi@gmail.com.
And if there's any topic you're interested in, please let us know, and perhaps we'll be talking about that in the future.
And that's all for today's
Wassup NYCU?
And we will
See you next time. Bye.